What is going on, everybody? And these are going to be my thoughts on the PlayStation experience for 2015. I just got done watching it, and I figured I would give you all my thoughts on the show. And I'm not going to talk about every single thing that happened on this show, because there are just some things that were on the show that I just really do not care about. So me talking about it would be kind of a waste of time. So this isn't going to be a complete review of the show, just what I would feel like talking about. And I'm also going to go by the tweets I tweeted out during this, because I don't have everything written down and off of my memory, so some of it might feel a little jumbled, so forgive me for that. Alright, here we go. I honestly have to say that this year, the PlayStation experience, this is the second one. They only had one before, which was last year. This was really disappointing. This show wasn't a bad show. I can't call this show bad. But compared to last year, it was extremely disappointing. And in a lot of parts, it was very underwhelming. And I think one of the reasons is there were some planning problems with this show, or some mishaps as to why this show was underwhelming, and I will discuss that. So, alright, they started out with Uncharted 4, and as some of you may know, I'm a big fan of Uncharted. I can't wait to play Uncharted 4. They showed off a trailer of Nathan Drake at his, looks like a construction job or an office job, and that was just really weird to see Nathan in a regular setting. We're not used to seeing that. And then he meets up with his brother, and then him and his brother start talking back and forth, and I'm really intrigued at Nathan Drake and his brother's relationship, because nowhere in the previous Uncharted games did none of them ever talk about Nathan's family. I mean, aside from his ancestor Francis Drake, there wasn't any talk of his mother, his father, or any of his siblings. So I'm really interested to see this relationship unfold. And then they followed that up with Final Fantasy VII Remake. And although at one time Final Fantasy VII was one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, it's still a good Final Fantasy, but I've played more of them over the years, because Final Fantasy VII was actually one of the first Final Fantasies I started playing. That has since dropped in ranking of my ranking of the Final Fantasies, but it's still a really good Final Fantasy game. And let me tell you, Final Fantasy VII Remake looks outstanding. It looks freaking amazing. All of your familiar characters will now have voice actors, which I'm really interested to see how that's going to turn out. But one thing they showed off, because they finally showed off gameplay, they showed off something that really disappointed me. They changed the battle system. And I think I've now come to the realization that we are never, ever, ever, ever going to get the classic turn-based Final Fantasy battle style ever again. It is now going to be real-time battles, just like in Final Fantasy 13, because that's what it reminded me of when I saw the gameplay of this. It looked like the Final Fantasy 13 battle system. And I'm disappointed. If you're going to remake Final Fantasy, you need to keep some things from the classic game. And that was one of those things, in my opinion, they should have kept. I don't think the turn-based battle system is dated. I don't see what's wrong with it. I like the turn-based battle system. That's why, to this day, I still play older Final Fantasy games and other RPGs with this turn-based system. So, maybe the battle system might still be good, because I'm definitely going to buy the game. This has not deterred me from buying it. I'm just kind of disappointed. But we'll have to see what happens. The game still looks great. So, we'll see. And here's one of the problems with this show. They started out the show with probably the two biggest games in their lineup. Uncharted 4 and the Final Fantasy VII Remake. They start out the show with those two games. It can really only go downhill from there. Even if it's something coming up that that isn't necessarily a bad thing, it can't match the hype of those two aforementioned games. That's why, in my opinion, this was one of the problems with the show. It was structured poorly. What I think they should have done was started out with Uncharted 4, then they should have probably put Final Fantasy either at the end of the show or in the middle somewhere. That's how I would have done it. But they followed both those games up with Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Because, as you all probably know, with this new Call of Duty, basically Sony has now taken the role of Microsoft. And now they have some timed exclusive content with Call of Duty. So now they're treating Call of Duty as like one of their big games. Because, as you all know, Microsoft has been doing this for years with Call of Duty. But now it's Sony's turn, and I don't fucking care about Black Ops 3. I don't care about the DLC. If you want Call of Duty news that would interest me, either remake Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, World at War, or even Black Ops 1. Because those are the 4 Call of Duties that I really liked. So either remake either one of those games, or make a new Call of Duty set in a World War II setting. Or something of an older war setting. Because I'm fucking tired of this futuristic bullcrap. It's stale. You know, the funny thing is, it's kind of like what people complained about Call of Duty in the beginning. Because Call of Duty in the beginning, they were just doing World War II. And then people kept complaining that World War II was getting stale. So when Call of Duty 4 came out, it felt fresh. Because it was in a modern warfare setting. Well, Call of Duty has reached that point again. And the futuristic setting is now tired and played out, in my opinion. So until they do that, I don't give a damn about Call of Duty. Then they talked about Call of Duty esports, and there's just going to be this World League, which the only tournament video game event that has ever interested me was EVO, the fighting game event. So I don't really care about a lot of the esports. I don't know how Call of Duty is really considered an esport, because there's been a lot of stuff in the Call of Duty games that would not really fly in a tournament setting, so unless they have to do a bunch of settings changes, I don't see how it can be considered a tournament shooter. So yeah, there's that. Yeah. So, alright. Then they talked about Star Wars Battlefront, and even though I'm enjoying Battlefront, this really seemed pointless. They showed off some cool fan clips, which some were cool, but one from, I think it was from Jack Frags. All he did was throw a grenade, and it killed someone. That's not special. That happens in every game. I've done that a billion times. That's nothing. So, that seemed kind of pointless. So, then they moved on to Randy Pritchard of Gearbox Software, talking about their upcoming game. I think it's called Battleborn. And honestly, from what I've seen of the game so far, it doesn't seem that interesting to me. It could be a fun game, and maybe my opinion will change in the future, but as of right now, I'm just not really interested in what they're showing. The funny thing is that when he came out, he said, we brought you the Borderlands games. Which Borderlands is really the only games that Gearbox has done lately that has really been successful. I mean, they don't mention Duke Nukem Forever or Aliens Colonial Marines. I found that kind of funny. And then, of course, they talked about that Battleborn's going to have some timed exclusive or just some exclusive content just for PlayStation. So there's that. And I have to say, his speech was really jumbled, and I don't know if he was nervous. I don't know why he'd be nervous. He's been on stage many times. But his speech was the reason why they invented teleprompters, so, maybe they should have invested in some. Just saying. And then they came out with Street Fighter V, which is expected. And they introduced, was it the 6 returning characters from the previous games and a brand new character. And, I know this is probably going to piss off some people, but it's just hard for me to care about Street Fighter V based on everything that Capcom has done in the past several years with their constant abuse of the copyright system, of just people just discussing their games they've issued copyrights towards. I mean, if you want some great examples, just look up Angry Joe. He's had several incidents with Capcom. And the new character doesn't look that interesting to me. And honestly, this whole Street Fighter V part of the show, honestly, it seemed like a lot of this was just used for filler. Because everything they showed here was something that NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat 10, a couple days ago, they did everything that Capcom did right here in about 2 minutes on YouTube when they showed off Combat Pack 2. So, either, I don't know if this was a planning mistake, or if they were just trying to kill time, but they should have moved it along and they didn't. And then one more thing about Street Fighter V is they mentioned that the Season Pass will have the 6 returning characters in it, but they also mentioned that you can unlock those characters through normal gameplay. Meaning, the only reason to buy the Season Pass for Street Fighter V is if you're just very impatient and you don't want to actually unlock these characters through normal gameplay. So, kind of different from a lot of previous Season Passes. So, honestly, either you're a big fanboy or you're just very, very impatient, but that's the only type of people I would see buying this Season Pass. So, then they showed off some games from Adult Swim. And honestly, a lot of those games looked fun. Which is very surprising because honestly, I didn't know Adult Swim actually developed games. I mean, I really didn't. I knew of Adult Swim from Cartoon Network and their adult-esque cartoons that they had on at late nights many years ago. I don't know if they still do because I don't watch Cartoon Network anymore. But yeah, a lot of those games looked fun. But the last game they showed in the rotation was a game from Double Fine Studios, who is headed by Tim Schafer. And as soon as that happened, that was it for me. Tim Schafer can go fuck himself. There's really no other nice way to put it. I have to put it as bluntly as I can. Tim Schafer can go fuck himself. Now, I can rant about him for a long time, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give you the brief summary here. Tim Schafer is a guy who has attacked gamers, is basically a puppet of Anita Sarkeesian, and he expects all of us to fund every goddamn game he makes. A couple days ago at the Game Awards, he unveiled Psychonauts 2, which is something a lot of people have been wanting for a very long time now. And Tim Schafer wants $3.3 million from us to make Psychonauts 2. And Tim Schafer also wanted money from us to make his Broken Age game, which is what people did because people still had faith in this idiot. So, they showed off a bunch of games from him. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy didn't expect us to fund every single one of these games. And if he does, people need to start fucking calling him out. Because I'm getting tired of being one of these lone voices that basically tells it like it is with this guy. He attacks gamers, he is a puppet of Anita Sarkeesian, and then he expects us, the people that he has attacked, to pay for the development of his games, just so he can charge us for these games, by the way. Tim Schafer, go fuck yourself. I'm tired of seeing you on these stages. Just go the fuck away. And the funny thing is that the Sony guy that came out, I think after Tim Schafer was done talking about his games, and this is what it sounded like to me. It sounded like he said, now that we've gotten that Tim Schafer shit show over with, as soon as I heard that, and that's what I heard, someone can correct me if I'm wrong if he actually said something different. That's what I heard. I was like, thank you, God. Whoever you are, I don't remember that guy's name, but thank you, whoever said that. He fucking knows. He knows the person Tim Schafer is. So thank you, whoever you are. And then they showed off more games, and apparently there's going to be a new Yakuza game, and some older Yakuza games are finally going to come out to the West, and honestly, I played the first Yakuza game. I just didn't really get into it, but I know that there are people who like the Yakuza games. So this should make them very happy. So that's good. And then they also announced that Sony is actually getting another exclusive fighter. Now, I know Street Fighter V is not exclusive. It's also on PC. But I think I heard that King of Fighters 14, I think it's up to 14 now. They announced it, and I think that's actually going to be PlayStation exclusive, because they didn't really mention first on PlayStation. I heard PlayStation exclusive. So, I don't know if that's a direct response to Microsoft, because Microsoft has Killer Instinct, even though that's not technically exclusive either, because that's also available on PC. I don't know, but that's a feather in Sony's cap if they can continue to get some fighting games that are exclusive to their console. So, there's that. And then they ended out this round of games with this game called Nioh. Now, it sounds like Neo, but it's actually spelled Nioh. And this game looked really cool. This game looked really fun. It looked like a action hack and slash game, but instead of actually mashing the hack and slash button like in the Dynasty Warriors games, it actually requires some strategy. Like you actually have to dodge and you have to guard. Kind of like the Souls games and Bloodborne. So, this looked really intriguing. I definitely want to see more of this game. And then, of course, they showed off the new MLB game. So if you're into the MLB games, you're into sports games, it's cool. I'm not really into sports games, so there's that. Then they brought out the new Ratchet Clank game, which I was really excited for. I'm a big fan of the Ratchet Clank series. I love these old school 3D platformer genres. I love it. I hope this genre makes a comeback. The 3D platforming genre. I hope it does with this Ratchet Clank game and then the upcoming Ukulele whenever that comes out. Or if Microsoft ever fulfills my dream and makes an actual new Banjo-Kazooie, hopefully we see a revitalization of this genre. But the new Ratchet Clank looks freaking awesome. But honestly, this looked like a reboot of the first game. Because in the footage they showed, it's when Ratchet and Clank meet for the first time. So either this looks like it's going to be a reboot of the first game, or this just one part they showed was just like a flashback scene. I don't know. I'm going to buy the game regardless. It looks amazing. I can't wait. And the Ratchet Clank movie, I'll probably go see that as well. And one more thing about that. Ratchet and Clank, the new one, is going to come out on April 12th of next year. So, the first quarter of next year looks really stacked. Because guess what's also coming out on April 12th? Dark Souls 3. So, I don't know if they made a mistake putting Ratchet and Clank on that day, because I have a feeling a lot more people are going to buy Dark Souls 3 over the Ratchet and Clank game. Now, people like myself are going to buy both because I'm interested in both. So, that's going to be a very expensive day for me. So, yeah. I don't know if I think that might hurt sales a little bit, but we'll have to see. And then the show went completely downhill from here. Oh my freaking God. Now, I knew they were going to talk about virtual reality. So I completely understand why they have a part of this show that is designated to just talk about their virtual reality product. I understand that. I completely do. But this just went on forever and ever and ever. I think this whole virtual reality segment, I didn't time it. And maybe it just felt like this, but it felt like it went 35 minutes. It went for a very, very long time. And see, that's the problem when you have these gimmicks. You don't want to spend too much time talking about it on shows like this, because there's going to be a part of your audience, and this goes for any gimmick that has ever been made for games. That includes the Kinect, the PlayStation Move, even Microsoft's HoloLens, their virtual reality product. There's always going to be a segment of your audience that just does not give a damn about it. They just don't care. That's why you should not spend a long time talking about it unless it's a show that's just designed or structured just for that product. But this show is not for that. This show is for the whole of your audience, everyone. And this just went on way too long. It really did, and I was completely bored. Nothing really looked interesting out of the virtual reality games that they showed. I think if I had to pick one that even looked remotely interesting, it was that Eagles Flight game from Ubisoft. Honestly, I think Ubisoft wishes they would make an Assassin's Creed for virtual reality. That'd be kind of cool, actually. This is probably the closest they're going to get to it. But other than that, no. It's just nothing here looked remotely fun. Did not look interesting at all. And then they had guys up there in metallic silver jumpsuits with PS Move controllers. Yes, remember the PS Move controllers? Those sticks with the glowing ball at the end? They're back, and you're going to need them for this virtual reality. I guess Sony realized they had a bunch of the leftover ones from when the PlayStation Move failed. So now they had to find some use for them. It just looked really goofy and it looked stupid. And the sad thing is that at the end of the day, once this finally comes out, whenever it does, most people are not going to have it because it's going to be very expensive. I mean, we already spend a lot of money on consoles itself. Now you're going to have to spend even more money on a virtual reality product. That's a lot of money. And most people don't have that kind of money. So we're spending all this time, all these resources for stuff that most people aren't going to buy. Even people who are interested in this probably won't get it right away because they can't afford it. Now, I could be wrong, unless this is going to be like just... This has to be expensive. With the way they're describing the technology and everything, this has to be console price, at least. I mean, I know we got the Samsung Galaxy VR for the smartphones, which is $99.99. It's not going to be that price. Because that's just for little simple phone games. I don't even know how that works, but I just have a feeling, and this includes the Microsoft HoloLens, that this is going to be console price. So it's going to be $400, $500 at least. And most people don't have that kind of money. So yeah, the show went really downhill from there because they spent way too much time talking about that. And then they followed that up with fucking Destiny. They followed the virtual reality segment with Destiny. No, that is not what you should follow that up with. Oh my god. And you can tell when these Sony guys, they talk about Destiny. You can tell. They truly wish in their hearts that Destiny was a PlayStation exclusive because they treat it like it is. They treat it like it's one of their biggest games on the PlayStation 4 when it's not even an exclusive game. It's a multi-plat. It's also available on the Xbox. And then they talked about Sparrow Racing. You know those little vehicles in Destiny that you ride around with? They're called Sparrows. That did almost absolutely nothing in the original Destiny game. Now they're going to have Sparrow races. Once again, something that probably should have been in the original Destiny game that came out 1.5 years ago. Oh my god. Okay, and then they followed it up with something that's actually really cool. It's a JRPG. It's a sequel to a hit on the PlayStation 3. It's called Ni no Kuni 2. And this looks really cool. And my grandmother, as some of you know, she plays RPGs, and she loved the first Ni no Kuni. And this looks to be more of the same, and this is good. Can't wait to get this. She's going to pick that up day one. And it's good, because we need more RPGs, whether it's Western or Japanese, on the PlayStation. We do. That's what brought PlayStation to the dance at the beginning. RPGs. And then we had someone from Epic Games on the stage, and I have to tell you, it's very surreal to see someone from Epic Games on a PlayStation stage, because Epic Games is known for the older Gears of War games. So they were always strictly Microsoft for a time. So it was really surreal to see them on a PlayStation stage. And I can honestly, at that moment, I could feel the tears of Xbox fanboys when that happened. But they showed off their new game. It's called Paragon. And it looked really cool, but I really have no idea what type of game is this. Is this like a third-person fighting game? Is this a third-person shooting game? One of my friends thinks it looks like Smite, which is a MOBA game, and maybe it is. I just don't know what it is because they didn't really show up any gameplay for the game, but what they did show, the scenery, it just looks like it could be a lot of fun. And I definitely want to see more of this game. So hopefully we do. And that was it. That's how the show ended. And it ended, and I was like, it did the ending montage, and I was like, that's it? That's it? You're not going to end on anything huge? Compare that to last year's PlayStation experience, which ended with Uncharted 4. Oh my god. So, to close this video, because I know this video is already going on a long time, the PlayStation experience for 2015 was not a bad show, but it was nowhere near as good as last year's, and it was extremely underwhelming. And I have to be honest. And before I end this video, I just want to say one thing. To the Microsoft fanboys, the Xbox fanboys out there that will no doubt use the horrible VR segment that this show had to attack Sony, Microsoft would have done the exact same thing with their HoloLens. Because it's the exact same type of product. So, don't act like Sony's the only one that cares about games, especially when Microsoft for years touted the Kinect all the time as this thing that you needed. But of course, it's not going to stop these people from making these videos. So, yeah, unfortunately, this is how this ended. I'm very disappointed, but there are some good things that are coming. So, we have some stuff to look forward to. I have to say, the first quarter of 2016 is very, very stacked. So, there's a lot to look forward to. So, alright. That's about it. Let me know what your thoughts are on this video and the PlayStation experience for this year. So, till next time, have a good one.